So hi, I'm Barbara Schiffner, Executive Director of Information and Educational Technology Services. And tonight we're going to be giving you just an update regarding the Local Control and Accountability Plan, where we've been and what we're going to be doing tonight and some of our next steps. Travis?
All right, so thank you, Barbara. My name is Travis Burke. I'm the Director of Special Projects. And like Barbara said, we're going to review some of the changes we have to our LCAP and LCAP process because it's a little bit of a different year if you hadn't noticed. So some things have changed, but some things have also stayed the same. We're going to review what has been done up to this point, and then we're going to take part in a thought exchange survey, which is really important for us to get community feedback from all of you and input on our process as we develop and refine our local control accountability plan. So we're seeking feedback from everybody in the room today, virtual feedback, that is. So here's a little history of this year, 2020, and how we've adjusted course. So back in March, we went into lockdown due to COVID. And our government figured out what we were going to do about schools. So we started on executive order, and we had decided that it wasn't going to be realistic to get the same sort of stakeholder engagement to adopt the LCAP as we had in years past because of the COVID restrictions. So they extended LCAP adoption to December 15th at this time and took it away from budget so that we could continue to use funds and established a COVID-19 operations written report. So we got through that school year. In the middle of June, we saw Senate Bill 98, which began to govern our process that we're currently doing now. So that defined our requirements for distance learning. It shifted the LCAP and gave us a new document to create, which was called the Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan, shortened to LCP. And basically that document was a document where districts memorialized the actions they took to work through distance learning and to continue serving our students and our communities during this time. They also suspended the state dashboard and they extended things like CSI and ATSI funding so that our individual schools in those categories would have adequate time to use those funds to support student learning and to support what they needed to support, climate and culture, all the things they needed to support with those funds. Then we roll into September, and there's the new Senate Bill, SB 820, and that again adapted some additional requirements, and those would include Williams inspections. That's where we inspect that there's adequate school books and materials for students for the adopted materials to learn, and that sites and facilities were operational and in good condition. Obviously, we couldn't do that in person, so they created a process to do that virtually. They modified SPSA stakeholder engagement for charters to make that a possibility, and then confirmed that we were going to include our LCP and our 2021 LCAP and continue moving forward. So that's a little bit of the history and a lot of the legal work that's got us to the point where we're coming to you tonight. So here's some of the work we did as a district. In September, we got that LCP, that Learning Continuity and Attendance Plan, that was adopted and everything was looking good, and we were able to do distance learning and everything we've done up to now. The next step in this process for our budget is to Instead of doing the full LCAP presentation like we normally do in December, we're going to have a budget overview for parents. That'll be at our December 16th board meeting. That's coming up in just a couple days, so you don't want to miss that one. And that's where we're going to outline the funds our district is receiving for this coming school year and what we've done in use of and how the funds are going to be allocated. A big overview though, not down to the nitty gritty. Between December and June, we will be developing our 2021-2024 LCAP. That's a 3-year plan that shows how we're going to use funds, what kind of actions we're going to take as a district, outlines how we're going to continue to improve our learning, climate and culture and services to our whole community. It's a big document and a big plan that governs everything we do in the district. So tonight we're going to be getting some feedback from you to help inform us on what the community thinks about our schools and some of the direction you can give us input on where we're heading. Our goals that are in our LCAP have not changed. If you've seen the graphic on our website and many of the communications, that's the big circle that has our district vision and the different things we're working on and the goals. On the outside, there's a ring of gray and it has all these LCAP goals. That's what encapsulates all the work we do in the district. So our first goal is to increase academic achievement and decrease disproportionality. Our second goal would be to ensure that all students graduate college and career ready. Improving culture and climate through increased student engagement is a goal. Increasing parent engagement is our fourth goal on the list. And our final goal, our fifth goal, is providing facilities that are clean, safe, and conducive to student learning. So those goals are all in our LCAP, and that's what we filter all of our actions through. Yeah. So we're at the start of this process here of identifying needs. One of the most important factors in identifying needs is to find out the thoughts of all of our stakeholders. So that includes our parents and our teachers, our staff, our community members, our students, and our district employees as well. So we're beginning that process tonight of that robust needs assessment. That's the foundation of an effective LCAP. So we need you as part of this process. So it's our responsibility to collect and analyze this data, which is why we're doing it the way we're doing it. And that data and your input starting tonight and at many other engagement opportunity events will help drive the development of our LCAP and the actions we take in the future. So your feedback and your statements are very, very important to us, and they're also a legal step that we have to take. So, but the more input we have, the better decisions we can make, and the more of a community we have, the better we will serve the students that attend our schools. So here's how we're going to do this. I have a link here that I'm about to put in the chat. And then I'll show you where this link leads. And I'm going to ask everybody to go ahead and click on that link and add your thoughts. Let's see if I can grab this. Okay. Sometimes the Zoom bar is just in the way, right? All right, we will have all these links available on our website. Thank you for posting that, Adalberto. And then here is, let's see this. Here's the link to visit in the chat. So it starts with my thought exchange. If you could, everybody please go ahead and click on that link now, and I'll show you how it looks on your screen. So once you click on the link, you're going to get a screen that looks something like this. Let me see if I can get back to the exchange. I've done this one before. It's a little different for me. You're going to have an introduction here. You want to make sure you've chosen the language that is your home language or you're the most comfortable with. So we have English, we have Espanol, and we have more languages down here. So go ahead and use this drop-down menu to select the language that fits you best. Once you get in, we're going to take just about 10 to 15 minutes to answer this one question. What do you think our schools are doing well? And what are some things we can focus on in order to improve? So we want your input on just that one question. A few questions in the chat. Okay, there's a shortened link in there for anybody who needs a shortened link as well in the chat. So here's our introduction. Why are we doing this? Your input is critical for developing our goals and actions for the 21 through 2024 LCAP. What's the LCAP? It's a critical part of California's new local control funding formula. How do you participate? You click on participate and then you share your thoughts. Once you're done sharing your thoughts, there's going to be a star feature. It's kind of how we rate other participants' thoughts that we agree with, disagree with, or really, really resonate with us, similar to a social media like feature. We typically recommend about 20 ratings or more. So you're going to see some input from some different meetings we had from parents, and then you're going to see those pop up from the people that are currently giving feedback right now. And you'll be able to access this exchange from now until December 20th. So one of the things I wanted you to know is that this is a safe place for productive conversation. So we're going to ask that you remain polite and respectful as you share and rate thoughts. We're going to look at all of your responses. We may remove thoughts that are really not that helpful. So if they're rude, hurtful, or they identify a person, they may be removed. However, if they're negative and they're not hurtful and posed in a respectful manner, they will definitely not be removed. Everything you do will be shared, but your identity will remain private. So if I go add my thoughts, it won't say Travis Burke thought this. It'll just say, here's a thought that one of the other community members posed. So the way you do this is you just push the OK button here, and then you can answer this question down here.
Mr. Burke?
Yes.
There's a couple questions being asked in the chat. One of them is there a way to distinguish between things that are doing well by the district and ideas for improvement as far as making those comments? How would you advise folks to make those comments?
Absolutely. I'll share with you how Thought Exchange works. So when you come in here, you can answer a question. So let's think of something our schools are doing well. And then it asks to say why it's important here. So if you can think of why. And then another thought bubble is going to pop up. So you can either add another thought that we're doing well or something we need to improve. These will continue to show up, and you can share as many thoughts as you have on this topic. So if you have 5 things we're doing great, let's go ahead and write those 5 things down. And then if you have 3 that we need to improve on, go ahead and do all 3.
That's what I said. That's what I said too in the chat, that you can just keep adding as many thoughts as you want.
Yes, just keep adding them. The more the merrier. When you're finished adding thoughts, you go ahead and push this button down here that says star. And then what you're going to do is different thoughts from other stakeholders are going to show up, and you decide whether it's a 1-star, a 5-star, or somewhere in between. 1 being something you agree with the least, and 5 being something that you really, really agree with. All right, are there any further questions? I saw a couple good ones. I'm just going to give you some time to go ahead and answer questions now in thought exchange and give your feedback. When you're all finished, you can look at some of our top ranking statements as well.
Mr. Burke, and Ms. Schiffner, there is a question as far as thought exchange, but I think in this some ways is as far as the data and information that's been with these thoughts or the thought exchange from the last survey, as far as the way it was implemented or used, how did it guide practice, policy, operations, district decisions, as far as the input when it came to the previous thought exchange?
So the previous thought exchange that we did last school year was used to help us build the LCAP for 2020-21. However, our COVID restrictions changed how we implemented and what we did. So we will be continuing to look at that data in addition to this new data in order to inform our next LCAP cycle. And those meetings and that input are included in our LCAP document. So they're part of the actual document. Not everybody's responses, but the way we used and analyzed the data is part of our document. Is there anything you wanted to add, Barbara?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, yeah, many of the actions were based on the feedback that we got from before, which were prior to distance learning. Mm-hmm. So as we went into distance learning, a lot of them, we just needed to rethink about how those actions were going to be played out.
Yeah.
Mr. Burke, there was one question that was asked as far as for folks that are trying to rate comment or feedback on somebody's thought that is not fully explained or not fully, not just something that is not complete. Like, what would you suggest for those individuals as far as rating those comments?
That's a great question. I saw that one too. It came as a direct message, so I just typed the answer back. But what I said was, you don't have to rate every thought. So if there's a thought that doesn't quite make sense to you or seem complete, just skip it and rate the ones that make sense to you.
Hey, Travis, this is Kate Ingersoll, Executive Director, Fiscal Services. Hi. For those that are new to the program, to skip a thought, in the person's thought, there's 3 dots on the right-hand side. If you click that, it says,
Let's see if I can do it.
Yeah, you do report or skip. And so you pick skip. And then it gives you reasons. I don't understand this thought doesn't apply to me, or other. And then you press skip and it'll move you on to the next thought.
Well, thank you so much for clarifying that.
Also, Kate, there's a question in the chat. Is the TRUSD board meeting, there's an update item on number 15, approve the 2021 LCF budget. Is that agenda item related to the LCAP feedback?
You know, as you guys said, because this year is so unique, the LCFF budget overview for parents that's going to the board on Wednesday is typically the first 3 pages of the front of a normal LCAP. And typically it's based on adopted budget, and it's taken to the board at the end of June for the upcoming year. The state has postponed that document to be in line with the first interim budget report, which is going to the board on Wednesday. And as you guys said, it's a big overview. It's a big overarching, it's not all the details of an LCAP. Did that answer the question?
I think so, yes. Thank you.
Welcome.
Looks like we have another one. Is this the first meeting introducing the opportunity to share thoughts on Thought Exchange? We introduced this last week at the DLAC meeting on December 10th, and that was our first touch with this Thought Exchange. We will also be bringing it to future engagements in January at sites at the site level.
It's the first, that was the first one this year, but Thought Exchange was used several times last year.
Good point.
So the next question, is there a goal for how much community feedback is needed? Our goal is to get as much feedback as possible. So we're going to be really going out to the community, to parents, staff, teachers, community members. We just, we really want a lot of feedback. So we're going to be pushing and asking a lot.
Sorry,
our goal is to
for
have
a second. I had dogs and kids, so I don't know if I missed anything important. They always come on Zoom. It's like a rule. There's a question that it was first introduced on 12/10 and closes on 12/20. For this window of time, yes, that's true. We will reopen that in January when we return back from our winter break for other engagement opportunities. So it's not just these 10 days and that's it.
There's one question as far as when it comes to the rollout of thought exchange, as far as I've seen comments that in this case it was introduced, it says here on the 10th, and then there's about 10 days. I think in some ways we've had sent out the notification via email, and many of our families have received the text. As far as you already, I think you already answered, Mr. Burke, as far as the idea that, you know, we're going to be just gathering sort of like a summary of responses and then return back in January. I think one of the comments I see right now is there an overview of what is proposed as far as with the LCAP, the fact sheet, infographics, something that is, you know, what are some of the plans that ties into the goals for the, you know, the Twin Rivers goals in mind?
So to answer that question is yes, we will be gathering all of this feedback through the next several months. And then before anything is finalized, everything will be presented to the community and through board meetings.
We're at 6 o'clock. That was about 10 minutes of taking time and thought exchange. You can continue to add thoughts and to star and to explore the responses on here. I'm just going to move to the end of my presentation, and then we'll answer some more questions. So don't feel like you have to log off a thought exchange just because I'm shifting. But that's what I'm doing.
Are there some questions that we have from our community members or from families that would like to ask? I know that I see that one of the comments that I saw from one of the participants is, how can we support with getting out the word out? How can we help out as far as engaging other families or other community members? What do you suggest in that case?
Well, you have the links up on your site, so sharing those links and talking with folks about reading the messages that come in through Parent Square and Aries Communicator are great sources of how to share this information. This is posted on our website in the family and community engagement space. Also, just, you know, getting the word out that there will be more engagement meetings at the site level in January. That's where we get a lot of parent input at that level, and encouraging people to attend those events, and really just checking those messages and checking the district website and sharing the link if you have it. Oh, good questions. We do have this on social media currently. I saw it come through a Facebook post. I'm going to go ahead and finish the last couple slides I have here. I talked about this earlier, but there's a lot of stakeholder groups. We start at the district level, which is these big engagement meetings, and our district staff gives feedback as well. And then our next step is to make sure we get feedback from teachers, principals, all school personnel, students, pupils, our bargaining units, parents, and community members. And as Barbara said, our goal is as many as possible. We'd like to hear from everybody. So some bullet points here. It's required by law and ed code that we engage stakeholders in the development of our LCAP. But most importantly, it's really an opportunity for us to build a shared understanding of how our budget and our actions and our plan, the LCFF and the LCAP, work and the requirements within those. It also helps us facilitate the implementation of new laws. So when new things come that are requirements, the more opportunities we have to engage stakeholders, the better we can implement those new laws. And then we can also have shared support and ownership of improved outcomes for students. So that's why we're here. All right, a couple more questions here. Why isn't the district doing a robocall like in the past?
I could respond to that, Mr.
Okay.
So this year will be found as there's been a higher response rate when it comes to sending out messages via text and via email. I know that in some cases, many families, for example, they don't have a cell phone, there is that the need as far as having the message also sent out to them as well. I do agree that that's something that we probably have to do and send out a voice message out to families, motivating them to fill out or to complete the survey and the importance of the survey for response. And that's something that we will work on to send it out later this week. But we just felt that it's easier when it comes to sending out a link via a text message or email or a social media post. But we'll work on that and send that out later this week.
And to answer the question about, yes, we will send out, we'll post on our website, we'll go through family and community engagement to provide a summary of this thought exchange.
Okay, here's one I've heard in years past from families that although they provided feedback, they don't get to see what comes from it. Are there examples of previous feedback that has been provided that resulted in actual policy or program change in the district?
And then there was a question about linking back to the previous LCAP work that was done.
Yes.
Absolutely, we will. We are, we're not starting from scratch again. We are definitely taking the last LCAP that was put together and building on from that.
So reading that about examples of feedback that resulted in actual policy change, it can be tricky to answer as far as a one-to-one correlation. But typically the trends we gather, 100% the trends we gather inform the actions that are taken and are in the LCAP. Definitely a piece of this year's improvement would be communicating those and making sure the community voice is kind of published and shared. Sounds like something that we can do a better job of. If that helps answer the question. I don't know about the whole history. I'm pretty new to this process, as well as Ms. Schiffner here. So there are definitely things we would like you to see how your input informs our decisions. I think I kind of spoke to this in We've had a few questions about what happens after December. So here's a few pieces we will be looking at for rolling out. We have this meeting in a couple of days. We have that budget overview, big picture budget. In January, we bring this process to principals and start getting out to sites, which is where we want a big push this year to get a lot of input. So there's a lot of different things that happen with sites. Principals have coffee chats, they have school site council, they do award ceremonies, and then they push out messaging to families. So we want to really work with our sites this year to get that messaging out, to get more feedback. And then, of course, future meetings like this one, future DLAC meetings, basically anywhere where we have people gathering or we have access to parents, we're bringing this for feedback and input. We'll also be sending out messages through Parent Square, like text messaging has gotten us a lot of return this year, and then also taking in the idea of sending out some robocalls, social media blasts, and any other way we can get the message out. I didn't see a question about school of attendance at this time around or how we identify. I think those are the layers we added in the January thought exchange. Am I correct, Ms. Schiffner?
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
When we look at site engagement, because we track site engagement and see where we're getting the most input and where we can improve. So at this point, we're kind of at the district level, at the high level of input. So we're not necessarily tabulating that for this exchange, but for the next one, there'll be sites included and roles.
Correct. That's right.
This is where we're right now. Well, this time that's all I have to present. So we'll hang out and answer questions, and you can continue giving input in the thought exchange. How are students being engaged? We have a couple of different pieces with the students, correct? We have the Healthy Kids, the California Healthy Kids survey that comes out that all students get to provide feedback on. And they get those directly in their classes. And you're asking for this thought exchange survey, I'm saying, okay.
What I think what she's in years past when we had the thought exchange, there was I would say that when you would log in, you have the option of either identifying yourself as a staff member, as a community member, as a student, as a parent. And I think she's, in this case, Ms. Harding is asking as far as, will this, since we're discussing the idea of getting staff or school site support, would this be something that will be also offered for students to complete in January?
This thought exchange, they would be able to do this in January, yes, when we bring it out to sites. And why not now? We like to bring this to the principals, the site leaders first, so they can help manage the logistics of it. There's going to be questions about logins, individual teachers. There's a number of things that happen at the site level that the principals need to be take the lead on this. So our opportunity to train them will be at that January principals meeting.
I'm sorry, this is Michelle. I'm on an iPhone, so it's hard for me to type
Oh,
in.
no problem.
So my question is, if this is more district level and more for the principals and administration and all that, why are parents doing this survey when you're doing another one in January? Why aren't they the same?
I think the thought was that we would just be giving an update on what was done before and what has been changing throughout this year because of distance learning. And we just wanted to get some high level feedback from all of you tonight, and then really get down to the site level and asking and getting more detailed thought exchanges starting in January. We didn't think that we would only have just this one question.
In the past, they've only had 2 to 3 questions total for the whole LCAP.
Right.
When they did thought exchange, before thought exchange, we had a full, like every single goal had multiple questions to ask the parents, and it was more, I would say, detailed and more thoughtful, more authentic input from the stakeholders.
Okay, I see a couple more questions. A thought about using the Kelvin survey tool that pops up on the student computers. That's definitely something we could look into, because it is something that is currently in our system and students use it. Is there an option for folks to provide voice responses? That's a good question. I think that's something we would have to look into also. So voice responses and thought exchange.
And Kelvin, so.
And in Kelvin.
Yep.
Our Spanish interpreter is going to be finished, and we've addressed a lot of great questions here. Thank you so much for all of your feedback. And we definitely have a lot to think about as a result of this. And we appreciate everything you did as far as input and everything you gave us in questions and feedback. This really helps us refine our process. So thank you so much for joining us on a Monday night. And I'll go ahead and turn it back over to Heriberto, unless you wanted to say something, Barbara.
No, again, just thank you. Thank you very much. Do appreciate all of the feedback. It's very appreciated.
I definitely agree with Ms. Schiffner. We appreciate many of the feedback and ideas as far as engagement when it comes to students using a variety of different tools. As far as reaching out to our families via voice messages and ways of connecting either from the district level or the school side level. And in some ways, how to engage our community members in something that is so crucial and important when it comes to the LCAP in itself. And so as Ms. Schiffner and Mr. Burke have mentioned, we will do our best to engage as many individuals and try to find a way to gather their input. And we appreciate your time. We will work with, and you should be receiving some information soon with this presentation and additional materials. And so with that, we appreciate your attendance and we thank you very much for your time and involvement as well. So with that, thank you very much. And we will gather your input, the comments that were made in the chat, and we will follow up as well. So thank you again.
All right, thank you very much.